For 24 years, I was an investigator for the IRS and the FBI. I started off working bank robbery cases. I ended up in Chicago and worked political corruption cases. And after I retired, I started investigating lost apple varieties. In the late 1800s, apples were extremely important to early settlers in Washington. They grew a variety of apples. Most of those people decided that farming was too hard, but all over eastern Washington, those old orchards survive to this day. Sometimes I'll just drive country roads and I'll look out and I can recognize an apple tree from, a couple hundred yards away. I wonder what's planted there. It's very possible it could be one of these lost varieties of apple just waiting to be found. I draw on my experience as an investigator mainly through the use of records. I'm searching for clues of where these lost varieties grew. I look at plat maps, I look through museum records and things like that. Then I go out, just like in law enforcement, I'm looking for physical evidence, and I've got to take a look at those apples. I make a map and record the GPS coordinates. I bag them up and I mail them off to apple identification experts. I'm collecting these apples from the only known Dickinson apple tree in the United States. These apples are absolutely delicious off the tree. There's only about 10 of us now that have ever tasted the Dickinson in the last 100 years. I began searching for lost apple varieties probably about 8-9 years ago, something like that. People often ask me, why do you look for these apples? And I tell them that I have been concerned that if I don't look for them, no one else will, and these varieties could be lost forever. So far, I found 3 lost varieties of apples. Those varieties include the Nero, and then the Arkansas Beauty and the Dickinson. So we're down to about 20 varieties that we're looking for right now, and it's just a matter of time, hopefully, to find those.
In a city that loves its bikes, there is one man looking out for the rest. One man brave enough to bring bike thieves to justice. A man the city calls Bike Batman.
In reality, I'm just an engineer. Back in the early 2000s, I started really noticing, there was a lot of bike theft. I remember I had a set of wheels stolen and I was livid. I was super poor and I had nothing to do. I couldn't recover them. It was so frustrating for me knowing that the police are so busy with so many other crimes in Seattle that there was nobody following up on these minor incidents.
Enough was enough. He realized he needed to take the law into his own hands, and he had the perfect plan.
I would best describe Bike Index as a database that allows you to register your bicycle. It's a great way to search for stolen bikes. The way it works for me is, as I'm perusing Craigslist, I'll notice a fishy ad and I will immediately open up Bike Index and do a quick search for any bikes that have been stolen in that geographic area. The first time I recovered a bike, I had no idea what I was doing. I drove after work to go meet this guy, and it wasn't one person I was meeting, it was 3. And I told him, guys, the cops are on their way. I just called them. This bike is stolen and you're not going to be leaving with it. Eventually I threw the bike in my truck, burned out, returned the bike, and it felt great.
What began as a simple plan to help a fellow cyclist took on a life of its own. Seattle's own bike vigilante was born.
We were able to recover high 30s or low 40s of bikes. I'm not entirely sure when the bike vigilante had become a thing. It was probably when the Bike Batman moniker was given to me, and this is just something I like doing. I don't need or want, any recognition. Just doing good is essentially, how I try to live my life.
And thanks to Bike Batman, the cyclists of Emerald City can rest easy once more.
Haven't you ever had those times in your life where you just feel all consumed with tasting something again that you haven't had in years and years? That's really what I'm doing here, is bringing back those incredible desserts, those incredible experiences that have gone extinct. I put myself through this process of resurrecting desserts because I truly feel that a good dessert can change the course of your day. I'm Valerie Gordon, owner of Valerie Confections, and I'm also a dessert anthropologist. The way this project of resurrecting historic desserts began was in 2009. The food editor from the Los Angeles Times Magazine asked me to create a Blum's coffee crunch cake for an article that she was doing. And it was this amazing full circle moment because I grew up with that cake. I know that cake and I miss that cake terribly. Blum's was an incredible bakery and cafe in California. There were 8 locations. The last one closed in the 80s. When the article came out, we literally received 125 phone calls from people going, "Oh my God, I want this cake." The desserts that I resurrected to date are, of course, the coffee crunch cake from Blum's. I've brought back the banana shortcake from Chasens. The brown derby grapefruit cake is another cake that I've resurrected, and now soon to be the coffee fiesta sundae as well. The anthropology of the dessert resurrection is really one of the most interesting parts of all of this. I start the research process at the Central Library. There is a room, and this is a very well-guarded room, called the Menu Vault. There are menus that date back for 150 years. I find that looking at the actual menus is so much more gratifying than just pulling something up online, because you're really getting to the heart and soul of the place. You're almost transported into that place at that time by holding something that these people held. You really are. Then I email a bunch of people, or I call a bunch of people who were natives to Los Angeles or whatever city the bakery was in, to find out, hey, do you remember this? Do you remember that?
We always used to call this the adult sundae because this is the one my mom would eat.
Can they describe the texture of a whipped cream? Can they tell me whether there was vanilla in it or not?
I'm pretty sure they did one basic recipe for whipped cream and then flavored accordingly. And it was little kid whipped cream.
One cherry.
Yes.
This is amazing. Like, you have been indispensable. I'm not particularly interested in retro. It is about reliving those sense memories. It's sort of like when you hear a song that was your favorite song from 1982, you're really thrown back into that moment. It's become this very emotional, very fulfilling part of my job to bring these cakes back for people.
In 2010, this man, Forrest Fenn, hid a chest filled with gold and rare artifacts somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. The search for this million-dollar treasure has obsessed thousands of seekers worldwide. And the trail starts with this poem, which Fenn wrote. It contains 9 clues that point to the treasure's location.
It's here someplace. Are we rolling? As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasure's bowl, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old.
Fenn's motivation for hiding the treasure was to give hope to those knocked down by the recession and to inspire them to explore the wild.
I found a beautiful little Romanesque treasure chest, and I started filling it up with gold coins and gold nuggets and about 280 rubies. There are 2 Ceylon sapphires, there are 8 emeralds, a bunch of diamonds, but mostly gold. I don't know what it's worth, and I don't even want to think about that. You're not going to be disappointed if you find that treasure chest.
I'm Cynthia Meacham, and I am a full-time treasure hunter. I have been looking for Fenn's treasure now for a little over 3.5 years.
I hid the treasure chest more than 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe in the Rocky Mountains someplace. Nobody knows but me.
The poem that you have to solve, Forrest always said, you have to find where warm waters halt. And to me, this is where our warm waters halt. And that's where I think that we need to find the treasure chest.
The thrill of this chase for Fenn's treasure has led many to leave the safety of known trails and well-beaten paths.
The mountains are very unforgiving. It's extremely important that you know what you're doing and you know where you're going. You can end up in big trouble really quickly. There's even one hiker that's been lost looking for the treasure, and he hasn't been found yet.
To Fenn's knowledge, the treasure remains a hidden mystery, but the real reward should come from the hunt.
I was positive this was our warm waters halt, and unfortunately I don't think that this is going to be the spot. It doesn't matter what state you treasure hunt in, you're going to have beautiful scenery like this. And it doesn't matter if you find a treasure chest or not, this is finding the treasure right here.
So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the coal. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold.
The Loch Ness Monster is one of our most enduring myths. People have sought its secrets for over 1,500 years, but only one man has devoted his entire life to learning the truth. Alone, in a van, by the loch. And no, he's not a wacko, it's just his thing.
My name's Steve Feltham, and for the last 25 years, I've been a full-time hunter of the Loch Ness Monster. I first came to Loch Ness when I was a 7-year-old boy and found this set of caravans with this gang of grown men hunting for monsters in Loch Ness. And I thought, that's amazing. That would be the life for me. I'd love to do that.
And so he did. 25 years ago, he quit his job, sold his house, bought this van, and pursued his passion. He now holds the Guinness record for the longest continuous search at Loch Ness.
In all my time here, I've only seen one possible sighting of something. All you saw was a spray of water off of the back of something. Boff, 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 boff. Like a torpedo shooting through. To this day, that remains a mystery to me as to what that was. That was in the first year of being here, and I thought, right, this job's going to be really easy. That's one sighting. 25 years later, I'm still sat here waiting for that second sighting. Some people think it's giant eels. Some people think there's a rip in time. Others believe there's a spaceship on the bottom of the loch. It's more likely to turn out to be big catfish than a spaceship on the bottom of the loch. The reason I sit here and I try and solve this mystery is because that's what makes my heart sing. People say, is it lifestyle or is it the mystery? It's both. My life contains freedom, adventure, unpredictability, and the chance of one of the world's greatest discoveries should I ever happen to find Nessie. It's a dream come true. If that little 7-year-old boy could see what became of him, he wouldn't believe his luck.